Ever since the 1970s, Richard Nixon declared a war on drugs to counteract the hippie culture at the time. Drug abuse has been going on since before recorded history. Different opiates or things that mess with the chemistry in your brain, people have been addicted to for years. And the current American system of just locking them up, tossing away the key, and waiting until whatever the mandatory minimum sentence is of that state to pass, and then toss them back out in the world, and they're clean. They think that they won't go back to it. They've been away from it long enough, and since they know that it's killing them, they're just going to stop. But the reality is that doesn't even kind of work. In 2013, over 1.5 million arrests were drug-related arrests. The total number of arrests was 12 million. That means about 12% of all arrests are drug-related. That's the most common type of arrest relates to drug violations, either through parole or through possession or use or anything. Most common one. When people go to jail, they don't get treatment, they just get locked up. And barely any of these people get treatment. About 9.3% of the population has some form of drug addiction, whether it's or a drug or alcohol addiction, whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or opiates or something of that nature, psychedelic drugs. Only 11% of that 9.3% actually get some form of treatment. Just any form of treatment. And after this treatment goes, about 40 to 60%, when this treatment's over, goes right back to drugs. So out of all the people who are arrested for these drug violations, only 5% can assimilate back into society as a normal person and function as a productive citizen. So the system we have now is clearly not working. The idea that prisons are a place where, since they can't get it, they'll beat the addiction is far from the truth. About 85 people in prison have connections to some form of drugs or alcohol and get it. The drug trade in prisons is booming. Some would even say that it's bigger than the drug trade outside of prisons. It's not difficult to get it, and when you're surrounded by all these people, 85% of the people you're around also do drugs. You don't have you don't have people telling you that it's bad and that you should get help because everyone else is doing it. So the idea of that it's not there is completely false. And another thing is people don't understand how addictions work. Addictions, it's more than just willpower. You can't just say no and be done with that. People who have drug addictions, most drugs give a rush of dopamine to your system. Now, dopamine is the pleasure drug, is the pleasure neurotransmitter which gives you happiness. Running does this, talking to people, smiling, anything happy, the body recognizes all the same as dopamine. Now, these drugs give you a rush of dopamine. It gives you that high feeling, which is what most people do it for in the beginning. So they do it occasionally for this rush of dopamine, makes them feel really happy. Now, you keep doing it. Your body keeps having this rush of dopamine, so it stops producing its own and relies solely on this outside substance giving you dopamine because it's used to it by now. Now you stop getting that substance. Your body no longer produces dopamine. This lack of dopamine can lead to Parkinson's, depression, sleep problems, lack of motivation, and you no longer feel like yourself. So you go back to the drug again. And you don't get the high anymore. All it does is you feel normal. You don't have a rush. You don't have a high feeling. You just feel like yourself again. And that's why so many people, even if they know it's killing them, destroying their lives, if their lives are spiraling out of control, their loved ones say they're going to leave them, they still continue to do this drug that's killing them because it just lets them feel normal. So the way to combat this we need to have treatment. We need to have people informed and lean off of it and an effective form of treatment. The money that our government has to spend on drug-related problems, over 95% of it goes on jailing people, punishments, and just enforcing punishments. Less than 2% actually goes to treating these problems and to helping people get better. The idea behind this is that treating people does cost money. It costs more money than imprisoning people. But if you treat someone, they're going to be able to get out of jail faster. They won't go back to jail. It costs about $40,000 to have an inmate in prison each, and that's the taxpayers paying for it. So although you pay a little extra to give them the treatment they need, they'd get out sooner and they wouldn't be back. Now the problem with the treatment, our current way of treating, is people have to go on their own. They're not enforced to do it. About 70% of the people who go to drug treatment but are not forced to do it drop out of it, leave it, go right back to doing drugs. Only 30% stay in. A way to change this would be instead of having these people go to prison and then lock them up, and these sentences that judges cannot change because there's a mandatory minimum sentence, instead have the people go to the judge and see that if they're trying to get better in prison, they can get released, and they'll have to check in and do drug tests, show that trying to be a productive citizen, like trying to get a job or working on their education or doing something to benefit themselves or just try to get over this problem, and be forced to seek therapy, the amount of people who would have these addictions would plummet. That's a way we can change it. Morals aside, if you don't even care about these people, you don't know them, it costs money to have a person in prison. So if we give these people treatment, we'd save America over $40 million of taxpayer money by treating these people and no longer having them in prison. Even if only 10% of people treated didn't go back to prison, there would be $40 million saved. So the problem is a lot of people don't realize what an addiction is and how badly it can affect your life and how much it actually affects your brain. It's more, again, like I said earlier, it's more than willpower. It's physiological changes in the chemistry of your brain that make you desire the substance just to feel normal again. If someone told you that the only thing that makes you feel normal is killing you and you have to stop cold turkey, it sounds a little more difficult. People are informed of how these problems are and how difficult it actually is to overcome these things, and that just locking them up and tossing the key isn't actually an effective way of treatment. Maybe some change could happen. If you want to see these people change, become productive members of society, become voting citizens who have jobs and contribute to the community, first we have to change ourselves. That's all.